There's a cast-off 762 blueprint in DMZ that looks absolutely amazing. It's called Heated Madness,
cool.
and it kind of glows as if
Yeah,
you're
this
looking
is
at it through a heat-sensitive camera, but it's also got some codes and stuff like that scrawled all over it. It just looks incredible. There's not really another gun that looks anything like this in the game. And to get it is a pretty unique quest in itself. You need to try and find 5 different components within the Koshai complex, the kind of new map that was added to DMZ. And some of them are fairly simple, you just sort of pick them up as you're wandering by, and some of them require you to go on a kind of multi-step quest to get them. It's a lot of fun, and in this video I'm going to show you how to find every single piece and unlock this gun for yourself. As always, if you find this video interesting, if you find it helpful, if you just find it entertaining, don't forget to leave a like, it does help me out a bunch, and subscribe and turn your notifications on. Right, so to unlock this blueprint, you need to extract with each of the 5 different components. You don't need to do them all in one game, so that's good news, because some of these are pretty hard to get. But they are all in Koshai Complex, so to get there, for anyone who doesn't know, you need to go to Al Mazrah, load into a game there, and then go into one of the 4 entrances, and I'll show you for each one which entrance I think is the best one to go into. If you want to check which pieces you've already managed to extract with and see whether something counted, if you press start while you're in the Call of Duty menus and then you go to challenges, you can then go across to a new bit called DMZ and you should be able to find the Koshai Complex blueprints, and there it will show you which ones you've got unlocked. I know it does show 6 things here, but you only actually need to get 5 of them, and then the 6th one, the gun, will actually unlock. If you are doing this with a squad, and I strongly suggest you do it with at least a duo, because Koshai Complex can get pretty tough. Some of these are in the alpha cluster where there's a bunch of AI in there and it's very easy to die. And you're probably going to end up fighting players at one point or another. So bring a friend if you can. And the good news is, if one of you extracts with one of these pieces, it unlocks for both of you, so you don't have to do each one twice. There is also some RNG involved in this. I'll show you the locations where we found pieces, and I'll kind of explain where they could be. But if they're not there and you can't find it at all, then just consider going out and coming back in again. We had that happen for one piece where we looked at all of the places where supposedly it can be found and it just wasn't there, even though we were the first players in that area. So there is some randomness to where each of these pieces spawn. If you really can't find it, just exfil, come back in again, and hopefully you'll have better luck. So let's get started with the first piece. This is the barrel, and this is probably the easiest piece to get. It's in the chemical plant area, which is that central area. Regardless of which entrance you go through, you'll end up getting here. It's the bit that's super dark and you need night vision goggles for. The barrel is going to be either next to some wooden crates or in some of the vents around here. And this is the one I was talking about, where the first time we did this, we went straight in there, definitely beat all of the other players there, but just couldn't find it. We looked around the whole area for absolutely ages, couldn't find it at all. We exfilled, came back in, and then we found it really easy. So if you can't find this the first time, just go back out and come back in again. I would say the easiest way to do this is to go through the barracks entrance. So that means going in the entrance that's just underneath this bridge between Al Mazrah City and Tarak Village while you're in Al Mazrah. Go in that entrance, and then you're just going to have to swim through some underwater sections. There's not many guards to fight and to kind of hold you up in this area. You can get through, I think you have to fight 6 guards to get all the way through, and you don't need to get like a battery or jumper cables or anything like that. You just hit the button once you get to the end. When you do get to the end, you want to be heading towards the little buildings. You know, there's these like 2 little huts that you can find. Get to one of those, just wander around until you find it basically. They're kind of in the middle. And then you should be able to find some vents near them. Look through those vents and you're going to find the barrel in one of those. It looks like a tiny little metal briefcase. That's what you need to pick up. There might also be some wooden crates next to some rubble. If you manage to find those wooden crates, it could spawn next to them as well. I'm not sure if there's any other places. Like I said, we've searched all over this place, and by far the easiest place to find them is in the vents. So if you don't find it, just consider going out and come back in again. Once you pick that up, you can exfil super easily from here, because obviously there's a load of exfils all the way around the edge. If you go through the flooded barracks and you get here super fast, then you should be able to beat any other players here. So you're just going to have some bots to contend with, but do be careful, because whole elevators open up with a bunch of them pouring out. They're pretty hard, they can be fully armored, so be a little bit careful. You can always duck into the vents when you need to heal, because it seems like they won't follow you in there. And if you've been downed, you can crawl in there so your teammates can get you. But once you've picked up the barrel, just try to exfil as quickly as you can before other players get in here. Now, the second piece is the magazine, and for that one, you're going to want to go into the Oasis entrance. So if you find that area that's kind of near Rohan Oil, up north, like where the Oasis is, just kind of go west from there, you should find a load of ruins that weren't on the map before. In there's a tunnel, and you should be able to find a secret bunker entrance in there. It's the only one that's not marked with a question mark. Head in there, and you're going to be in the radioactive area of Koshai Complex. Now, in here, there's kind of this semi-puzzle type thing where you're going to find a load of chambers with 4 big sort of blast doors on the side. In order to progress, you need to close all of those. But the thing that you need, the magazine attachment, that's going to be inside one of them. So what you want to do whenever you get to one of these radioactive areas is just check every single one that you can open. Some of them have a broken wheel, so you can't open them at all, but open up all the ones that you can and then search around for the magazine. Usually it will just be at the back of one of them. You're also going to be looking for some keys, which are called special exit keys. You need 2 of those just in case you don't manage to find a magazine in any of the chambers. Once you've searched all of the chambers you can in each section, then you can close them up, either using the wheels next to the blast doors, or if you go into the room that you came out of, there should be some buttons there. Hit those and they'll start closing. Be really careful in this whole area because, as you'll realise, there's some radioactive gas in the air, which means you can't stay there very long without a gas mask. And they do eat through gas masks very quickly. So any radioactive blockers you've got, any gas masks are super useful. Check all of the different chambers, and if you don't manage to find a magazine in any of them, like we didn't manage to find it, then you're going to need to use those 2 keys, which you should have been able to find in the chambers while you were looking for the magazine. Open up this door where you need to put the 2 keys inside it, and then through here, hopefully you'll be able to find a magazine in one of the rooms here like we did. Then, as ever, you just need to exfil as normal. If you've got one of those L2 cards and you've gone through the secret exit, it's going to be a little bit easier to get out that way using one of the L2 access cards. If not, you just need to make your way back into the central area, back into the chemical plant, and then you can exfil from there. The optic is next, and this one's a little bit easier to find, but it will really help if you have a rebreather. So if you can find a rebreather while you're in Al Mazrah, that's going to be a massive help here. It is actually possible to get this without it. I've seen some people saying you 100% need it. I don't think you do, but it makes it much simpler. So once you've got your rebreather, you want to be heading back into that entrance into the flooded barracks. So that entrance between Al Mazrah City and Tarak Village, under the bridge there. Go into there, and then just progress through as you normally would. Keep on checking for things like night vision goggles and rebreathers in the first section, because you might get lucky and find them. Then you should get to this area where there's a load of laser trip mines, and there's kind of a plywood bit of wall with an X on it. You want to throw an explosive like a Semtex onto that. It'll destroy it and open up a new corridor that's entirely flooded. Now, the piece that you're going to want is right at the back of this corridor. So you're going to have to get all the way down to the end of the corridor. There's some doors there. You go through them. And then we've always found the optic in the back left corner there, which is about as far as you can get. Now, you can swim all the way there, pick it up, and get back without needing to use a rebreather, but it will make it so much easier, especially when you don't know where you're going. I'm not sure if there are random spawns for this, if it could show up in the other side rooms. We've been in here quite a lot, and it feels like the optic's been in the same place every single time that we've looked. Again, as per usual, you can just pick that up, then exfil as normal by going through to the chemical plant. Now, the next piece, the muzzle, is one of the probably most annoying ones. At least one of the 2 most annoying ones, because the next one might even be harder. But the muzzle is super difficult. So for this one, we're going to be heading into Alpha Cluster, which means that you need a car battery and jumper cables. And it's a good idea to grab these before you even go into Koshai Complex at all, just because they're much easier to find in Al Mazrah. So while you're in Al Mazrah, find a car battery, find your jumper cables, and then you're going to head in. I would suggest that you head in through the flooded barracks again. I just find it the quickest one to get into the center, but it's kind of up to you. So if you want to go to flooded barracks between Al Mazrah and Tarak Village under the bridge, go in there again, and then you want to get right through to the center to the chemical plant as quickly as possible. So just swim through all the corridors. You should know the route by now. You've probably done this a couple of times. Get all the way to the chemical plant, and now you need to go find one of those little cabins that we talked about earlier in the video. These little cabins are somewhere in the middle of the chemical plant. You should be able to find them. They're a little room, and on the table in both of them there's going to be an R4 detector. This is a little thing that replaces your tactical slot, so just make sure you've picked up one of those. If you've got a teammate, you can go to the other cabin and pick up the other one if you want to. Now you need to head to the Alpha Cluster. So in the chemical plant, if you go all the way to the far east side of that room, then you should be able to find a little panel on the wall where you can put the car battery and jumper cables inside, and then you can open up one of the 2 blast doors next to it. It doesn't really matter which one.
Yeah.
Once you've opened them up, then you're going to have to fight through a few corridors. There's some sentry guns in there. There's also a bunch of annoying armored guards, and eventually you're going to get into this giant room that's got loads and loads of servers in it. Do be careful in here. There's a load of trip mines between the servers. You can listen out for them. There's also tons of guards, and they will keep on spawning. They never really leave you alone in here. What you're looking for is a kind of raised platform with stairs at either end and 2 sentry guns at the top. If you destroy those sentry guns and you go up there, you're going to see a door in the middle that has a keypad next to it, and it's going to basically require a 3-digit code. If you use that R4 detector that you picked up earlier and just look above the keypad, you should be able to see 3 Russian symbols. These are symbols that you're going to need to be able to decode, so remember them and remember what order they're in. Once you've got the symbols in your head, now you need to look around the room, and bear in mind this is a very big room, at chalkboards that are on the wall. When you look at these chalkboards through the R4 detector, you're going to be able to see a load of scribbles, and somewhere within these scribbles, it's going to tell you what each of those symbols relate to in terms of a number. So say we had one of the symbols was like a capital B, and somewhere in there on a chalkboard was a B symbol, just like the one that we saw in a circle, then a big arrow pointing to another circle with a number in it. That's what you're looking for. This is unbelievably confusing, and I really kind of hate this puzzle, if that's what you want to call it. Just because also on a chalkboard, sometimes, amongst all the scrawlings, you'll see other things that look like the symbol you want with an equal sign and then a number. That's not what you're looking for. That doesn't count. That's just sort of random scrawling. You're just looking for the ones where there's your symbol, then a big arrow, and then a number. Those are the ones that you need. Now, thankfully, you only need to find 2 of them, because then you can just brute force the last one. So find out what 2 of your symbols are, which number they correspond to, and then just go up to the keypad, and whichever one you don't know, just go through, you know, try 0, try 1, try 2, try 3, try 4. Nothing bad happens when you get it wrong, so you can just go through all of them until you get it right. Once you get the right code, it'll be super obvious, the door will pop open, then you can just go in that room and pick up the muzzle, along with a few other pieces of loot. Now, when you want to exfil, you don't actually need to go all the way back to the chemical plant. There's going to be an exfil within this room. It'll be alongside one of the walls. I think if you're heading back towards the exit, it should be on the left wall somewhere. Just go and use that exfil and you should be able to get out easily. Now for the grip, and what I think is probably the hardest piece to get. This one is super annoying and has a bit of RNG involved. Basically, you're going to want to head into Koshai Complex and find 3 AQ laptops. They have to be AQ laptops, they can't just be normal ones you've bought in from outside. These are quite hard to find. We had the best luck using the Rohan oil entrance, but to get out of that one, you need jumper cables and a car battery, and you're going to need the same items to get into the Alpha Cluster. So before you go in here, make sure you've got 2 jumper cables, 2 car batteries, and then you can find the entrance in the underpass under Rohan oil. Just go underneath this kind of half-shut door, and you should be able to find the entrance in there. Now, as you work through the entrance area, there's going to be a bunch of turrets, a bunch of guards, but keep an eye out for those AQ laptops. Chances are you should be able to find 2 of them, maybe just 1, but every time we did it, we managed to find 2 in there. And now you're going to need to find a 3rd from somewhere. We got really lucky on our run that we just killed another team that had come through to the chemical plant, and they happened to have a couple in their inventory, so we just used theirs. If that doesn't happen to you, you're going to have to go in some of the other starter areas. So you can open up the other doors from the chemical plant and then go into that area. Make sure you kill the players, because there's almost definitely going to be someone there unless they've died before you've got there or they've gone off towards the boss or something. And just search around for those AQ laptops. I've heard a few people saying they found them in the doors behind the L2 sort of double doors that you need the access card for. We searched all through them and didn't find a single one. So I'm not entirely sure whether they spawn there or not. But in the starting areas, there definitely seems to be at least 1, but maybe 2. This is going to require a bit of luck, because if other players pick them up first and then get out or something like that, you're going to have a hard time. But once you do manage to find 3 AQ laptops and you've got them in your inventory, now you can go back into the Alpha Cluster. So again, you want to go to the east side of the chemical plant, put in the car battery, put in the jumper cables into that box and open up the doors again. Once you're in there, you're going to try and fight your way through the corridors, get past the turret, get past all the guards, and once you're in the massive room, you can climb on top of the server racks, and then you'll find these kind of pillars that have a bunch of computers around them, and they're all illuminated. 3 of these pillars are going to have connections that you can plug a laptop into. I had to mess around a little bit. I had to kind of stand a foot back from them to get the prompt to show up. It was a little bit weird. Apparently there's like 5 of the pillars and only 3 of them work. We just had insanely good luck then, because we went up to 3 and all 3 of them worked immediately. But once you put the laptop on them, then it's going to say that there's like some security locks disabled or something like that. And once you've done all 3, an alarm will start going from one corner of the room. You want to head on over to that corner of the room and then climb up to this door that's now unlocked. You can open it just by interacting with it, and through there you're going to find the grip, which is the last piece. Because you're in Alpha Cluster, you can now exfil from in here. There will be an elevator in here that you can use. Just be careful in case any other players have come in. Then once you've exfilled with the last piece, you now have the Heated Madness blueprint. Like I said, I think it's a super cool looking blueprint. And I really like the fact they've done this in DMZ. I think it's an interesting sort of side thing that's different to the missions. It gives you a reason to go in and complete some fairly tricky challenges, maybe come up against other players, have a little bit of an adventure, which is surely what DMZ should be about. If you found this useful, if you found it entertaining, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.